Okay, I'm going to rewind. So today we'll be talking about time value of money, which is the third module for this training. And these are some of the terms you're going to be learning: the annual value, present value, future value, and the rest of them. So for the fourth one, we're going to be learning, you're going to be seeing life cycle costing. Is a new word that is in the economic lexicon. It is the most modern method of evaluating a project by taking into consideration the whole life cycle analysis or life cycle of the project. When we talk about life cycle in a simple term, it is the sum of the present value of all costs of a system over its lifespan. Oftentimes we make a mistake when we want to cost a project. We only consider the cost of buying it. We don't consider the cost of maintenance. We don't consider license cost. We don't consider cost of repairs. You know, like in renewable energy equipment, when you invest in it, you should know that after 6 months, after 1 year, you might have to change the batteries. So when somebody says you're going to spend 5 million naira, after 2 years, after 6 months, there might be maintenance cost. There might be cost of transportation. There might be cost of licensing. So there are a lot of costs that are associated with the project. So when you put all those costs together, that is when you come up with what we call life cycle cost. Now we'll go to the next one, and it's another big one. It's called NPV, the net present value. What is the net present value? I want you to get it right. It is the difference between the present value of an investment, future cash flow, and the initial investment. So when we talk about net, the word net simply shows you that there's a subtraction, there's something there. You need to subtract a difference between today's present world value and the future value. The future value could be the accumulation of the income. I'll say more about this. But why is the net present value important? Now, there's a condition when the net present value might be 0. So when the net present value is 0, it means there is no difference between the income and the expenditure. So it means at that point, you are just breaking even. You are breaking even. If I buy something for 200,000 and it's going to give me 200,000 after 2 years, it simply means I've not made any profit. I mean, there's nothing there. But if I buy something 200,000 and then I make a profit of maybe 20,000 over, or 25,000 over 10 years, over 5 installments, and I come up with 250,000, the net present value becomes 250 minus 50. That becomes 50. So the net difference becomes 50,000. So if it is positive, it means the business is profitable. If it is negative, it means the business is not profitable. If it is 0, it means I'm neither here nor there. But when it is 0, there's an important economic parameter that I've arrived at, and that is what we call the internal rate of return. At that point, when the NPV is 0, the interest rate that made that NPV to be 0 is called internal rate of return, and is such an important economic indicator. It's such an important economic parameter. Why? Because that is where you know that, look, beyond this point, I'm not making profits. And then you know that is where you peg your investments. Banks are good at using this. Banks are very good in using this. That's why when you go to the bank, they will tell you, we can borrow you money at so percentage. Anything below that, they will refuse. Right? So at that point, it is a reflection of the internal rate of return. That might not be the internal rate of return, but it's an indicator of where the internal rate of return stands. So for banks, they might call it a different name. Some of them might call it a different name for some bank. And one of those names that they call it is MA, minimum acceptable rate of return. So minimum acceptable rate of return. Now, when we talk about the internal rate of return, the internal rate of return now is not an amount, rather it's an interest rate. This internal rate of return is also like interest rate. In economic terms, sometimes we use interest rates to describe the appreciation or depreciation of money. Sometimes they can call it finance rates. It means the same thing. Sometimes they call it discount rates. It's the same thing. Sometimes they call it hurdle rates. Whatever name they call it, it's a form of interest. It depends on where you found it. Is it the interest that is giving you 0 MPV? That one is called internal rate of return. Is it the interest rates that the banks have said, beyond this point, we're not investing, we're not borrowing money? It's called minimum acceptable rate of return. For some of us, we have different minimum acceptable rate of return. If you're a contractor or you're a consultant, when you pick up a tender and you go through the tender and you are not seeing 20% profits, most of us will not go into it. Most of us, when we see profit of 10%, we say no. Why? Because it does not meet our minimum acceptable rate of return. Companies like Las Vegas, I tell people, if they don't see 50% profit in their business and interest, they will not go into it. Why?
Sound from the laptop.
We cannot hear you.
Okay, let me check what is happening. No, you should hear me. Is everybody or one person?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. The person that should check his
I can hear
yeah, check his end.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. So now, interest is very important, but let's move forward. We have a lot to cover. Depreciation. Okay, it's not a cash flow. It's for accounting purpose only, because sometimes you need to remove the depreciation. Then another big one, number 8, payback period. Payback period. You know, when we discuss walkthrough audits, we say you can just provide a simple payback period. In other words, I can come to you and tell you, look, if you change this bulb for 2 days, or you know, the simple payback period means the money you are investing over the profit you are making, and it's the number. Is a number, right? Is a number. That number is in years or in months. This is the amount you gain. This is the number of years it will take you to recoup your amount of investment you've made. We have 2 types of it: the simple payback period and the discounted payback period. The simple payback period is just not accurate because it ignores the time value of money. I bought a car for 45 million naira, and it gives me 500,000 every year. So if you say 2.5 minus 500, it will give me 5. That 5 is my payback period. In other words, if I buy a car for 5 million and I make 500,000 every year, it will take me 5 years to recoup the money on a straight line approach. But as I said, it's wrong because it does not value the time value of the depreciation of the interest accruing, because it will be assumed that I borrowed that 2.5 million. It assumed that I borrowed money. Even if I did not borrow money, I got the money from equity. Then there's a depreciation of a huge depreciation in Nigeria. So I must consider that. Then the discounted payback period is calculated after discounting the net cash flow using an interest rate. Right? Okay. Salvage value. The value of equipment at the end of the lifespan. That's what we call salvage value. Sometimes it can be positive, sometimes it can be negative. Life of a project. The number of years which will receive annual savings. This is what we use in our economic analysis. If somebody asks you what's a project is something that has a beginning and an end, or something that has a life. That's just it. So every project has a beginning and an end. So whatever the project is, it must have a beginning. For it to be called a project, it must have a beginning, it must have an end. So in all these key words we've explained, there are about 5 of them I would like you to pay close attention to. Those ones are P, the present what? F, future what? A, annual what? N, number of interest period or the life cycle. Then I, the interest rate. For anything called a project, for anything that involves doing investment, for anything that involves appraising a project, these are the 5 items you will see. Nothing beyond these 5. There must be interest for borrowing the money. There must be a period when the project is going to last. There must be a future worth of the project. There's going to be an annual worth of the project. And there's going to be a present worth of the project. So it's either a present worth, annual worth. When we say annual worth, let me just tell you what this annual worth means. Annual worth is if I buy a car for 5 million, and after 5 years, the car will pack up, it means the annual worth of that car is 1 million. That's just what it means. If I build a house for 10 million, and I'm going to be getting 1 million from the car, from the house every year, and after 10 years, the mortgage or whatever will expire and the owner will take it back, it simply means that the annual worth of that house is 1 million, because it is 1 million that I'll be paying every. So that's what it is. So if it cost me 5 million to build it in 2023, and in 2030, it's going to be cost worth 20 million. The future worth of the money is 20 million, while the present worth of the money is 10 million. That's what it means. So I want us to really understand it from that layman's language, from that layman's perspective. So in our cash flow, we have receipt and deposit. Either something is coming in or something is going out. In cash flow diagram, whatever that goes up is like coming, represent cash flow, and what goes down is like outflow. So just take it that way. Then you can move from a certain period to the end period using the future value. And when you split it over a period of years, it becomes the annual value. At the beginning is the present value. So the present value, if you want to convert it to annual value, you split it into 4 equal years. And if you now want to take it from the 4th year to any number, year n, it becomes future, use the future value function. So that is what this thing represents. A represents annual cash flow, F represents future value, and P represents the present cash flow. Any question? Are we following? Maybe a little bit boring, but it's okay. Now let's demonstrate that. At year 0, I invested 6,000 naira. What will be the amount after at year 5 at interest of 10%? The amount will be 10,000. So if I invest 6,000 naira in a bank and they are paying me 10%, in 5 years' time, that amount will be $10,000. Conversely, if I intend to have $10,000 in my bank account, how much do I have to invest now? And at what interest rate? This is the amount I have to invest. So you can move vice versa. If it is depreciation, if I keep 10,000 in an asset that is depreciating at the rate of 10%, after 5 years, that asset will be worth 6,000. That's also what it means. So moving time money over time is what we call cash flow. It's what we call discounting. It's what we call economic analysis. It's what we call time value of money, whatever time you use. So bring it home. We have pleasure going into the mathematical aspects. So I want you to understand it. There are two ways to solve any of this problem. The first problem is what we call simple payment compound amount. A mathematical formula is developed to determine the equivalent amount of money, F, that is accumulated after n years from a single investment, P, when an interest rate, I, is compounded one time a year. This relationship between future value and present value is what we call single payment compound factor. I will explain it to you. If I borrow you 100 naira now, I invest 100 naira in a business, and the interest rate is n amount, I amount, sorry. After n number of years, what will be the worth of the money? We're all engineers. If I give you 100 naira now, that 100 naira is what we call the present value. And I told you that the interest rate is 20%. Who will tell me the worth of that money after 1 year? 20% per annum. I borrow you 100 naira, and I told you that the interest rate is 20%. By December, after 12 months, how much is the amount? How much is 100 naira worth? Who can answer it? We can't hear you.
I think 120.
120. Any other person? You can put the answer in the chat. The answer is 120. Because 20% of 100 naira is 20 naira. So 100 plus 20 plus 120. That's what you pay me. So how do we arrive at that? That's the question. How you arrive at that is that you multiplied the present value by what we call compound factor, which we also can derive from a table called interest table. So if you multiply the present value P by everything in this parenthesis is called the compound factor or compounding factor, it will give you the present value. That compounding factor in this case is simply share. I want to share my, I can't find my, okay, good. Sorry, whiteboard. Okay. So gentlemen, look at it. There's 100 naira. The interest rate, that 100 naira now is what we refer to as the present value. And the interest rate, 20%, is what we call the I, interest. Hold on. Then it is a project. So it must have lifespan. And the lifespan is number of years, presented as N. So remember, I gave us 5 economic parameters. There must be P or F or N or I or A. In this case, A does not come in. So we're going to eliminate A. F comes in, and that's what we're looking for, question mark. P was given to us, 100. The N was given to us, and that's 1 year. The interest rate was given to us, that's 20%. So the formula for that is that I'm looking for the future value, and the future value will be a function of the present value. Then from the formula, using the formula, listen to me, 1 plus interest rates raised to power. No, sorry. I can't find my raised to. I'm using one German laptop. Okay, whatever. Can't find it. Okay, raised to power. Raised to power n. So since n is 1, so there's no n is 1. So it means 1. So the interest rate is 0.2. The interest rate is 1. Anything raised to power 1 is the same number. So it means the future value becomes 100 multiplied by 1.2. So that's how I got my 120. It's easy because this is the simplest of it. But at a point, it becomes so complicated that you not need to either resort to use Excel or you resort to use interest table. Retrace to use interest table. So at this point, I would like to introduce us to interest table. So let us, from that material we downloaded, there's something called interest table. Or let me put it in my chat also. So go to the charts. Let me upload the interest table. Now, interest table is everywhere, gentlemen. You can go online. You see 1 million of them. It's just there. If I go online, just go to Google and type interest table. You see different interest table. You see 1 in a million of them. So many of them, they are just there. So you can download any one, but I've uploaded one for you. This one is from Iowa State University. This one is from another university in the US. This one is from Oxford University Press. I mean, it's just a hell of a thing. It's just like 4-figure table. So let me just look how this one looks. Let me see how this one looks like. It's the same one I have. The same one I have. So this is your interest table. So you can download it. This interest table, what you see here is the same sheet. It's just one single sheet. There are 31 sheets, but it's the same sheet. What changes is the interest. This one is 0.5% interest. The next one is 0.5% interest. This one is 0.75% interest. This one is 1% interest. The next one is 1.5. The next one is 1.25. The next one is 2%, 3%. The next one is 3.5, 4%, 5%. So it's the same one sheet of paper, but it is varying based on the interest. So if you want to use the interest table, you just go to the particular interest you are looking for. They are all the same thing. No matter how voluminous they are, they're just the same thing. What varies there is just the particular interest. So in our own case, for instance, the one we just did now, we're looking at 20%. So I have to scroll and go to 20%. So join me. Go to 20%. And that will be page 20% is on page 24. Go to page 24. Go to page 24. So what we are doing is what we call simple payments, because the thing is that I borrowed Engineer Chima 100 naira in January. I don't want him to pay me back in February, March, April, May, no. But I just want him to come to after 12 months and pay me. So that one is called single payment, and that is these two. The next one is called uniform payments or compounding interest factor. The third one, which we don't use often, is the arithmetic gradient. So for now, I'll ask you to forget about these last two. Focus on these 6. But for this exercise we're doing now, it is based on these two. So the interest I'm collecting from Jinachima now is the compound amount. So in other words, I'm looking for the future amount, given the present. The present is 100 naira at interest of 20%. I'm looking for the future amount. The number of years is 1. After 1 year, the interest rate, I hope you can see me, my cursor. The interest rate is 20%. And I want the money, is a 1-year deal. It's a project that has a lifespan of 1 year. And I'm just looking for the single payment compound factor. So the single payment compound factor is 1.2. And that's the first one. So in other words, I'm looking for the future amount. I have the present factor. So I'm going to upscale. I'm going to upscale. And upscaling means I will scale by a factor of 20%. And the new factor becomes 1.2. So if I multiply my 100 naira by 1.2 to give me 120 naira, that's it. Straightforward. That is the use of this compound interest factor. If I want to get the amount after 2 years, in other words, let's assume that the deal is for 2 years. How much will Njachima pay me back after 2 years? Njachima is going to pay me back 1.44, 144 naira after 2 years. At 20% per annum. So it means the first year, he will, if the deal is for 1 year, he will pay me back 120 naira. If the deal is for 2 years, he's going to pay me 144 naira. Now, this is the simplest of it, but as you go forward, it becomes more complicated. Because as an energy auditor, you need to know that if this client invests 5 million naira, it's going to reduce such amount of money in the energy PO. After 1 year, he's going to do this kind of maintenance. So you need to juggle a lot of things using the life cycle. And then you come up with a value that you now convince yourself that even though it's obvious that it's going to borrow this money and there will be interest in payments. So you need to do some level of discounting so that you can get the appropriate amount. Any question? So now I'm going to teach you this interest table because there are 2 ways to solve this problem. During our university days, and that is why I'm angry sometimes about our type of learning. I don't think they introduce us to this. Maybe it's in the master's level they might introduce this, or MBA class. But they are supposed to introduce us to all these tables, right? Instead of introduce us to all these formulas. If some of us can remember this formula, let me show us the whole formula so you can know what we passed through. Remember what we passed through. Okay, look at the second one, for instance. The single payment present worth factor, which is just the opposite of the one we taught. Now look at the mathematical formula. F, this time around, you know the future value. You're looking for the present value, right? Let me give an instance now. Let me use one example now for this. The opposite of this is now, sorry. The opposite of this one, or let me start a new one. Okay, the purpose of this one now, I don't know the present value. In other words, now, I want to buy a house. Listen to this. I want to buy a house for 120 million in 1 year time. In 1 year time. And an investment banker came to me and said, come and deposit money with us. So that in 1 year time, you'll be able to have 120 million naira to buy a car, to buy a house. Yeah, there are such business. So in other words, I don't know how much I'm going to invest now, but what I want is 120 million naira after 1 year. So the question is, how much should I invest now? if the interest rate is 20%, I want to buy a house in my Tama, cost 120 million naira. Okay, how much should I invest in GT Bank in January, for instance, so that by December, when I go, it will give me 120 million. So in other words, I have the future value, which is 120 million. The number of the duration is for 1 year. The interest rates is 20%. So what is the present value? What is the present worth? What is the present worth of my 120 million naira after 1 year? So the formula now becomes the second thing that I want to teach us. This is it. So it means a mathematical formula developed to determine the present worth P of a given future amount after n years at an interest rate I. So in other words, I'm looking for P. I have the F. So the formula is this. So this is the mathematical formula. At our age and at our level now, if somebody asks you to start using this formula, as good as it's impossible. So the interest table comes handy. And after the interest table, Excel comes in. How to use Excel to do it now comes in. So now, it is the opposite of what we did in the first one. So the formula now will be, the formula becomes, I'm looking for P. And I'm giving something, F. I will now impute this formula, which is difficult. But the easiest way to do it is that I'll go to my table. When I go to the table, I'll look out for the factor that takes care of the present when I have the future at a particular interest rate at a particular number of years. This is what we call, everything in bracket is called the interest table factor. So all I need to get the future value is to multiply the future, to get the present value is to multiply the future value by the what we call the table factor. In this case, I'll go back to my interest table. At 20%, I'm looking for the present worth. So here it says, find P given F. Please take a second look at it. Very, very important. For the first one, we are to find F. Well, we are given the P. In this case, is the opposite of this. I'm now giving the F, which is 120 million. I want to buy a house in my Tama with. I'm now asking myself, what would be the present value? Because we are discounting. So the number of years is 1 year. And the interest rate is just 50%. So the table factor says it is 0.8333. So the table factor is 0.833. So I'll go back to my whiteboard. In other words, I will come here. The present value becomes the future value I was given is 120, and the table factor is 0.8333. Gentlemen, if you multiply that money, you're going to get 100 naira. Can somebody do it? 100 million. So in other words, what I need to do, if GT Bank is going to pay me 20% interest every year, I have to go to GT Bank and deposit 100 million. Once I deposit 100 million naira in January in GT Bank, I should go and sleep. By December, GT Bank will procure that house for me. That is worth 120 million. So if you look at this, it's the same thing. This is just the opposite. So this is the present value. This is the future value. Any question? Yeah. I don't expect it to be easy. For some of us, this is the first time. Okay.
But yes, sir. What if there's a change or a review in the interest rate while after the person has deposited? Because sometimes they might say terms and conditions apply. So what if there's a change? Maybe there's a decrease or something due to economic factors. What would happen then?
Good, that's a good question. But I don't see interest rates changing within 1 year. Agreement is agreement. That's why banks are very sophisticated. Before every year they'll bring up their interest rates. They have already projected and know what CBN and everybody's going to do. That's why today in Nigerian banks, if you go, they cannot give you money in less than 25% because they know that inflation in Nigeria is between 15 and 20%. And then they'll have overhead and every other thing. So if interest changes after 1 year, they will inform you. Am I right? The fixed deposit. They will use the new interest rate. And then your present worth becomes a new value starting from that year. I don't even understand. If interest rate changes in June, then it becomes a half-year thing. So they will inform you, so they don't inform you anyway. They will now use the new interest rate to calculate. So whatever I have accrued, maybe the money will be around 110 million by June. That means if the interest rates have changed, depending on whether it's backward or forward, that means at the end of the month, this money might be 98 million or 95 million. Or the money they will give you, the future money might not be 122 million or 118 million, whatever. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? Good. Now, this is just a preamble. There are more complicated ones. So now, we've just done 2. There are 6 of them. Because if you go to this interest table, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So any question, any life question must fall within these 6. We have just seen 2 now. When the payment is a one-off thing. In other words, when the payment is a single payment. Now, the other 4 we're going to go into now, they are more complicated, but they are more real, especially in terms of energy projects, in terms of energy auditing. They are more applicable. Now, the third one is what we call uniform series present worth factor. Look at the mathematical formula. Just forget about it. Just forget about this. Rather, go to this. This is what we call the table factor. Once you see this formula, you understand the language of this formula. This formula is telling you that you are looking for P and you are giving A at an interest rate of I at a n number of years. This is where it is explained. The factors are tabulated in all economic tests. When you see something like this, it means that what is in front is what I want to know, what you are looking for. Then what is under here is all the things under are what I know already, what you are giving. To interpret this, it means find P, present value, given that A, I, and N are known. In these 5 economic indicators, N and I are always given. Then the remaining 3, 1 will be given and you'll be asked to find 1. I come again. N and I are always present. Why are they present? Because every project has a lifespan. And there's always interest rates. So those ones are constant, those ones are defaults. Now the next 3, 1 will be giving you. Either you are giving the present value, you are giving the future value, or you are giving the annuity amount or the annual worth. Out of those 3, you will be given 1 and then be asked to find 1. So out of those 3, 1 will be present at least, and you asked to find 1. So that is this uniform series factor. The next one is called capital recovery factor. Capital recovery factor is the opposite of this. In this one, you are looking for the present worth. You are giving the annual worth. So you use this mathematical formula or use interest or use the table factor. In this one, you are giving the annual what? No, you're looking for the annual what? You have been given the present. This word, capital recovery factor, is what they use in MBA class. Oh, this is they will say, how do I recover my capital? How do I split? What is the amount I'll be investing or be getting every year? B to recoup the amount P that was invested in an investment. How much will I be saving in my energy payment for me to be able to recover P amount of money that I use to procure the equipment? If I ask anybody to come and use this formula, forget about it. So then your best option is to use the table. We are coming. The fifth one is what we call sinking fund. In sinking fund, I love this one because it's always an example I always give. Sinking fund is what is the annual amount I'll be depositing in a bank so that in the future, I'm going to have an amount F. I want to send my son to the United States to go and study. The school fees is $75,000. How much should I deposit in the bank at a particular interest rate so that in 5 years' time, when he must have finished secondary school, the money in the bank will be 75,000. So what is that amount? A, equal series amount of money that every year or every month I walk into the bank, I will deposit it and be doing so every month like a contribution so that in the future, F, it will amount to a certain amount of money. That's what we call sinking fund. After you have done your audit, you told your clients to install solar panels and batteries and inverters and everything will cost 5 million. You might say, I don't have money. You know, you say, I don't have money. How much can I be depositing now so that in 5 months' time or in 5 years' time, I can achieve that money? That is what we call sinking fund. A. When you see it like this, it means I'm looking for A, I'm giving F, I, and N. If you go to the interest table, sinking fund says find A, giving F. Capital recovery factor says find A, giving P. Compound amount factor says find F, given A. So if you look at sinking fund and compound amount, they are the same thing. This and this are just the opposite of each other. This one is that I'm compounding. This one is sinking. Then if you look at capital recovery and present words, they are opposite of each other. This one say find A, given P. This one say find P, given A. So you can see that, technically speaking, you need to have mastery of just 3 economic parameters. Yes, you just have to master how to do capital recovery, how to do sinking fund, how to do present words for single payment. That's all. The other one is just the opposite. It's moving opposite. The other one is just moving opposites. So number 6 says uniform series compound amounts. In this case, money is coming to me every year, 2,000. What will be the future amount? If I decide to give my son, he's going back to school and he said, Daddy, I need 100,000 naira. And I know I don't trust him, he's an extravagant boy. I will say, instead of me giving him 100,000, let me split that money so that by the end of the semester, which is like 4 months, I would have still given him the same 100,000. Well, how much should I be giving him? Let's assume the thing is 1 year, 12 months, and I want to give him 120,000. So it's either I give him 100,000 naira in January, or I give him 100,000 naira, or I give him 20,000 every month. Now, that 20,000 naira I'm giving him is now the annuity, the monthly, annuity. When we say annuity, it just means annual, a year. But it can also be monthly, depending on the structure of the business. Depending on what we call depending on the temporary space of that business, temporary and partial. Okay, now that is the last one. So there are about 6 of them which I've gone through. So later you have to take your time and understand the 6 of them. But let me give you the summary table for all of them. This is the summary table for all of them. So pay close attention. And after now, I'll give us 10 minutes, small 10 minutes break. Your 10 minutes break today is going to be it's not going to be of anything, but for you to master this table. Master this table. Now, single payment compound amount is that I'm looking for F, to find F, given P. This is the formula using interest table. This is the mathematical expression. Forget about this mathematical expression. We're in a new world. You can use Excel. You can't cram this, and you can't be solving this. But this one, you can master it. All you need to master is whatever is inside bracket. Everything inside this bracket can be found inside the table. You see everything inside this bracket now is in it. Everything inside this parenthesis is in the table. So what you do is that when you go to the table, you establish your N by the number of years. You establish your I. So once the interest rate is 10%, I will identify the particular table. Then I'll ask myself, am I looking for F or am I looking for P? If I'm looking for F and I'm given P, I'll go to the first one. I'm looking for F, given P. The second one, if I'm looking for P and I'm given F, it's just the opposite. This is it. This one says I am given P. No, I'm given A and I'm looking for P. I'm given A, looking for P. I go to my interest table. Given A, find A, given P. So that one is capital recovery. How to recover your capital after you have invested a certain amount of money. P. How do you recover your capital as an equal series of payments coming to you? Any question? So I want us to get mastery of this. When we return, we'll start. Is that okay? Here, we try to explain it just like I explained before. Now watch this.
Yeah.
For a present amount of money, $100, 100,000, the interest rate is 15%, and the number of period is 5 years. If you are calculating the single payment compound factor, which means the future, I'm looking for the future amount. The present amount is 100,000. The interest rate is 15%. The number of years is 5 years. This is the formula I will use. And the formula is this. So if you go to the table now, if you want to use form table now, if you want to use mathematics, this is what you do. But if you want to use the table, all you need to do is to multiply 100,000 by the table factor, where the interest rate is 15%, number of years is 5. How do you start? The first thing you need to start is to go to the table and go to 15%. And 15% is at page 22. When I get to 15%, what I'm looking for is the future amount. And I'm giving the present amount. But the number of years is what? 5. So this time around, I'm going to number 5. Number 5, find F, given P. P is 100,000, which is the present money. The table factor says 2.011. So it means if you multiply 100,000 by 2.011 to give you about 200,000. Gentlemen, what it means, and ladies, what it means is that if you go to the bank and borrow money at 15% and you did not pay back, after 5 years, that money will double. And that's exactly what's happening to Nigeria. All of us can relate. All of us can relate. If you borrow money from any bank and you did not pay it after 5 years, and the interest rate is 15%, gentlemen, you're going to pay times 2. True or false? True. Okay. So that is that. Now, if you now want to rework it again, in other words, I want to save 200,000 naira in the bank. I want to save, bank wants to give me 200,000 in 5 years' time. How much? And their interest rate is 15%. They said they will be giving me 50%. How much should I give them in fixed deposits? How much should I put in my fixed deposits now, so that in 5 years' time, I will have a lump sum of 200,000 naira? You go to your interest table. You go to 15%. That is the amount the bank will be giving me. So now I'm looking for the present words. The future amount I know. Future amount is the what. Remember, this is what these 419 people used to MMM. This is what they do. Not MMM, sorry, all these small investments. Some of them are very fraudulent. But this is how you know. With this, no. Because by the time somebody will ask you to bring money, after 2 years, I'll give you deposit 100,000 in our bank. After 2 years, we'll give you 200,000. Gentlemen, it will not work. So from this now, you know whether it will work or it will not work. Even at 50%, how much do you put in the bank? So that in 5 years, fine, I didn't say 2 years, I will have 200,000. So you come here, this is 15%. I hope you're seeing my screen. Yes. After 5 years, the table factor says 0.4972. 0.4972. So it means if I'm expecting 200,000 as a future amount, the present amount now will be multiply that future amount by the table factor. That table factor will be find F, given F at interest of 15% at 5 years. That's how to write it. So everything in the table now becomes 0.49 watts. Somebody's lost as well. 4972. Sorry, the future amount is 200,000. Multiply by the table factor. Call it table factor, call it economic factor, whatever you call it. Gentlemen, I'm not going to do multiplication, but I know that if you do the multiplication, you should have 100. Can somebody try it? Is that going? So, any other question? So you can see the other ones now. The other one is now present factor. What is annuity after 5 years? The other one is the opposite of this one. And so on and so forth. This annuity means 100,000. If I split it over 5 years, it will amount to 29,832 naira every year. This is what it means. In other words, that's my son that I want to give 100,000, right? Or instead of saying one of, I now met GT Bank. GT Bank says, since you don't have 100,000 to pay now, we can tell you how much you'll be paying every year. Gentlemen, listen to this. How much you'll be paying every year for the next 5 years. But remember, this 100,000 means I deposit the 100,000, I travel, I run away. Then after 5 years, I showed up. But the annuity is how much will I be paying every year so that in 5 years, I'll have 200,000. That is the one that is annuity. Are we getting it? In other words, if I want to get 100,000 in 5 years' time, gentlemen, let me propose now. Do you prefer me to give you 100,000 in 5 years' time, or to give you, sorry, is either I give you 100,000 in 5 years, or I give you 10,800 every year? A layman who said, 29,900, which is almost 30,000, times 5 will be around 150. Why will you give me 100,000? Because of time value of money. So it means, let me not digress a little bit. It's like we're only going to economic class. Let's leave it there. Let's leave it there. So, gentlemen, I'm going to leave it all with us for just 5 minutes. I want you to master this formula and then try to relate it to this. When we come back, we'll move to question 1. This is question 1. Okay, question 2. So master this, then master this. Try to understand. When I come back in 10 minutes, ask me question. So we're going to resume by 11:30. Master the economic interest table. Try to understand what is happening here. And then try to understand what happened here. Try to solve 1 or 2, then try to understand this table. And we're good to go. Once we come back, we'll start calculation from question number 2. And a lot of questions. By the time we do question up to the question number 5, we'll close the class. So see you by 11:30. Please master this. And then when I come back, I'll answer some questions for the first 5 minutes. Thank you. See you in 10 minutes time. 8 minutes actually.
Are you watching Big Brother? Can this person mute?
So, I guess we're back. Any question? Welcome back. Hello, everybody back? If you are back, just type "I'm back." Or just say yes. Yeah, one person. Let me just know how many people are present. 2, 3. 3 people. 4. Just say yes. Oh, I'm back. 4. Others have left the class. 5. 2 more. Okay. It's okay. So, so let's look at one question. Remember, the idea of this topic is to introduce you to a new area of cost. As an energy auditor, we told you that you need to be versatile. You need to know beyond your present knowledge level. You need to go beyond your present knowledge level. So, but by the time you deepen yourself into this, believe me, you're going to appreciate this topic. So, look at this question. After you went for audit, you found out that a new lighting system that you want to recommend to your client will last 6 years and will save 5,000 per year. But your client says that he needs to go to the bank and borrow the money at 15%. So the question now is, how much will he have to pay for the system so that the system will be productive or will be a good investment? Remember, it will only save 5,000 naira per year. In other words, he will make extra change, extra 5,000. Maybe let's say, when we say we will save 5,000 naira, maybe his bill used to be $25,000 for AEDC. Now he'll be paying $20,000. So it means the savings is 5,000. That's what it means. Because at the end of the day, what you want to save, you want to save money for your clients in energy bill. So that saving, it can be used to do investment and do other things. So this particular system that you want to introduce, this lighting system, when you do the calculation, you do the analysis, it came out that after 6 years, the lifespan, the light will pack up. And you need 15% to borrow the money. Now the question is, what are they trying to find out? What is they trying to find out? Can anybody tell me? What are we giving? And what are we looking for? From that question, what are we giving and what are we looking for? Now remember, it's either you are giving the present value, giving the future value, giving the annual words, giving the N, giving the I. So tell me which ones are present. I, we know. N is what?
6 years.
We need to be interactive. It's a mathematics class now.
N is 6.
Amongst A, F, and P, which one is given? And which one are we looking for? We're looking for P. Something says it will save 5,000 per year. That gives you a sense of annuity. Annual what? Annual what? Annual income. Annual value. Annual value of what? Annual value of the service. That's what it means. So amongst P, F, and A, which one is present? And which one are we looking for? We are looking for the present what? How much will the man invest? How much will he bring out to implement your report? And you already, through your calculation, your addition and subtraction, they already told him that, look, guys are paying 20,000 every month. You're not paying 15,000. So the savings is 5,000. So when we say how much was he paid, you see, that is why you need to be an economics. Somebody comes to you now and says, buy this machine. It will save you 10,000. The machine will cost you 1 million. You just don't buy. If it will save me 10,000, how long will it take me to recover the money I use in buying it? Because I'm going to borrow the money. So now, we're looking for the P. So you go back to this test and ask yourself, what am I giving and what am I looking for? Look at this table. This table, we are giving A, we are looking for P. So where is it now? Look at it. We have to find P, right? And we are giving A. So this is where we are. So in other words, we are looking for the present what. What is the present what? If I take it backward again, we're looking for present what. This is the formula. We're looking for P, we'll be given A. The interest rate is known, the number of years is known. So here, what do? P is equal to the amount, the one given, A, multiply by table factor. And that table factor is, you go to where you have P over A, find P, given A, under 15%, under 6 years. So P is equal to A is known, 5,000, multiplied by table factor. Everything inside here is a table factor. So I'll go to the table again. At 15%, under how many years? 6 years. We are looking for P given A, which is this. Find P given A. We're looking for the present what. And it's a uniform series because the money, the A is coming every month, every year. So under here at 6 years, it's giving me 3.784. That's the table factor. Can anybody check it out? Under 6 years, present what factor given P, given A, find P is 3.784. $3.784. Are you with me? I'm looking at my calculator, sorry. Anybody can do it, please. Somebody should do it.
That's 18,920.
18,000.
920. 920.
What does this mean? What does it mean now? What does it mean? Can somebody tell me what this thing means? What it means is that if you buy that equipment more than 18,920, you're running at a loss. That's what it means. You know, if you don't know this now, somebody will bring equipment and everybody, we all get that. Buy this, you buy. But if it's an investment appraisal, if you really want to treat it as a business, because you cannot bring me a system of 1 million naira that will be saving me only 20,000 naira every year. I mean, that's rubbish. If you give me an investment of 1 million naira and it's saving me 100,000, I should know that I'm going to recoup my money around 10 years time or more than. So if I want it to be in 5 years time, that means it must be giving me 200,000. So that is the idea. Because when you present this to your client, you say, look, these people that want to sell you this equipment, okay, if you buy this equipment at 90,000 naira and it's saving you 5,000 naira, is a good investment. So in other words, If the equipment is more than 18,900, I would run a loss. So if the equipment is not 10,000, I will even appreciate it more. If it is 15,000, better. The cheaper, the better. But it must not be more than 18,000. Any question? So go to question number 2. Any question? Question number 3. A boiler economizer. Mr. Chima must have told you what a boiler economizer is. Will cost you 20,000. This is just the opposite of the one we just did now. It will cost you 20,000. What is that 20,000? It will cost you. Who will tell me what that 20,000 means? Is it P?
That's
is it
the present
AGF?
amount.
Sorry?
That's present what?
Thank you. That is the investment amount. Thank you. The investment, the money today. What is the lifespan of the project?
5 years.
What is interest rate?
12%.
12%.
So well, let's solve it ourselves. So if I want, I'll change this. Is there a again? So what are we looking for this time? What is the P? What's the P? Didn't come to market.
20,000.
So, am I right? He said, how much will he have to save each year to return 12%? This to return 12% is jargon, is tautology, is confusion, you know. Lecturers those days, or even these days, when they give you an assignment, they try to confuse rigmarole and confuse you. What the question wants to say is that, is it economical? Is it a good? How much does this economic boiler have to save to convince the client to buy it at 20,000? That's just the question. How much must he save so that the client will not run loss, seeing that he's borrowing money at 12%? That's what the question is. So you need to convince your client that I'm gonna buy this new AC at 180,000. It will consume 50% less energy. So you'll be saving like 1,000 every day and 30,000 a month. And 30,000 a month, if you multiply it over a year, that will be 300, that kind of thing. So let's go. So what's the formula? Can somebody call me the formula? What are we looking for? A. What is given?
P.
Then multiply it by the table factor, which is where you see A over P, given 12%, given 5 years. This time around, can you get me the table factor, everybody? Get me the table factor.
2.774.
And what is the final value? Be careful, oh. Be sure. Are you sure of this? 12%, 5 years.
It's 2.774. 2.774. 2 point, not 0 point.
It's not, sir. No, sir. It can't be 2 points, sir. It can't be, sir. Why do I know it can't be? You are trying to break 20,000 into 5 years. How much must he be giving me? How much my bank is saving so that I'll break even? So that 12% will not be a high investment. Check again. Please, this is how to know it.
My bad. 0.2774. It's 0.2774.
That is about that. And what is it now? Multiply it. What does it give you?
$5,548.
5,000.
548. Yes.
So what it means is that if these changes in my energy bill does not accumulate to $5,548 every year, then buying that equipment at 20,000 naira is a bad investment at 12%. You know, a layman will tell you 20,000 divided by 5 for 4,000. Once I take 4,000 every year, I'm done. But no, you are wrong. There is an interest rate accumulating at 12%. So the money you need to make is 5,448. Now, if you now multiply 5,548 by 5 as a layman, you will see that it will be more than 20,000. That is why 20,000 in 5 years' time cannot be 20,000. If I give you 20,000 now, in 5 years' time, you cannot be giving me 20,000. If the interest rate is 12%, you should be giving me something close to 554 times 5. $27,740. So, my brothers and sisters, good. If I borrow you 20,000 in 2020, and you want to pay me back in 2025, if the inflation rate is 12%, please, when you're bringing back my money, bring me 27,740. If not, I have made a mistake. So if they offer me this equipment for $20,000 and the savings in my energy bill is less than 5,500, I'm losing money. Why I'm saying this is that it's easy to say, in 5 years' time, 20 divided by 5, the payback period now, right? It's 5 years. That's 4,000. So once I see 4,000, I'm okay. But based on time value of money, based on depreciation and an interest rate of 12%, it's not possible, sir. So we'll go to the next one. Question number 4. Question number 4 will be a little bit too complicated for us, but let us try and do these two that we have done. You see the question number 4 is the same thing with question number 1 and 2. The difference is that you are going to appraise 2 different projects, and then you find out which one has better economic indices. A company has asked you to look at 2 projects. So it means what we've done in question 1 and question 2, you're going to do it 2 times. After you've done it 2 times, you now compare the economic indicators and say which one is favorable. So let me do Excel. Then I will come back to this, right? These first 2 that we have done, let me show us the Excel, how to do the Excel. Then we'll come back to this. This one is just the same thing, but just that now you need to do 2 mathematics, you need to compare 2 things, and then you find out which one to recommend. Like we said, economic comparison, where you have alternative. Okay. Now, let me do this. Let me do it. Let me do it then. When I do it, I'll not do the other this thing. So let's solve this. A company has asked you to look at 2 projects. Each project will last 8 years. The first project will cost 125 and will save 33,000. So let's take care of the first project first, right? Good. So here, I'll say clear all. So let's say project A. Read out the parameters for me. What is the F? What is the P? Is there F? Is there A? Is there N? Is there I? Can I have them? For project A, what is the P? Can I get an answer?
5,000.
No F. What is the A? How much is he saving?
33,000.
Sorry?
33,000.
Okay. What's the lifespan?
8 years.
What's the interest rates? This question introduces us to what we call MPV. Let me introduce us to MPV because now we need to, the project will cost 125. So what we'll do now is that we'll leave this 125 as initial investment. We will now found after earning 33,000 per year for 8 years. Let us know what is now the P2. Remember, this is the P1. I will explain. Remember, this formula we're using what we call MPV. There is PV. MPV. The formula for MPV is net present value, is the PV of the cost. No, it's PV of savings minus PV of cost. Good. This savings doesn't need to go to the end. Because now net, this N means net. What I'm trying to do, gentlemen, is that this project is going to bring me 33,000 naira every year. What is the accumulation of that money in today's amount? In other words, I'm looking for the PV savings. PV costs have been given to me, which I can also call P1. Just stay with me. Now I need to look for the P2. So I'll assume that this one does not exist. So if I come here, I will still say I'm looking for the P. When I get the second P, I'll subtract it from the first P. Remember what I told us net? A project that is giving me 33,000 for 8 years. What is the present value of those savings? I will subtract it from the present value of the cost. It will give me the net. It will tell me whether I'm making profit or not. If it is positive, it means I'm making profit. If it is negative, it means I'm not making profit. So here we'll start with P. P, we are giving A. So we are giving P. So here, I'll multiply the A based on what we said before by the table factor. Are you with me? So P will now be A. So can somebody give me the table factor? Go to 12%. Find me the present value of an annual amount of 33,000.
4.968.
4.
0.968.
This other should confirm, but I think it's correct. At 8 years far, check well.
At 8 years, yes.
Yeah. Are you correct? %12. Good. We're looking for P given A. P given A. It is. Yeah, you're right. 4.968. So what's the value? What's the value, gentlemen?
163,944.
163,944. Gentlemen, what this thing means is that if a project is saving me or giving me 33,000, I need to do that for the next 8 years. The actual present worth of that amount is actually 163,944. So in other words, if I decide to go into this business today, the net present value is now the NPV of the cost minus the NPV of saving minus NPV of cost. And it's going to be positive. It means that this business is a good business. That if I go into the business, I'll make profit. Why? Because my NPV is positive. You get it? Please, what's the value? And somebody help us out.
That's 38,944. 38,944. 944. Yes.
So it means for project A is a good investment because the net present value is positive. The cost of initial investment is 125. And when I accumulated the savings and bring it back forward to present day value, it gave me 163,000. So it means even without starting the business has shown me that at the end of 8 years, I'm better off by 38,944. In today's terms, so this 38,500 I can still project it to the future amount. I will now know the profit I'm going to make after 8 years. But this is at today, in terms of today's value, today's money, I'm already making profits. But when they say project comparison, it does not mean one is bad and one is good. You can compare 2 good projects. The more profitable one becomes the recommended option. So when we say compare project, it's not like compare from one that will run into a loss the one that run into a profit. No, you can still compare two products that are running into profit, and the one with the higher profit becomes the real one. So let's go to project B. So for project B now, we still know the problem for MPV. So what is the P cost or P1? What is it costing us today?
453,000.
And then what is the P2? The savings. Are we giving? No, that's what we're looking for. What is the annual savings
46,000.
that we use to get the present savings? Yeah.
46,000.
Number of years is the same, right? Interest rate is what? 12. Therefore, the P becomes what, please? The A multiplied by table factor. What's table factor this time? Should be the same, right? Right?
Yes.
So what is the P now?
220.
What?
228.
228.
528.
So net present value, MPV, very, very important economic parameter banks use, is now the present value of the cost of the savings, sorry. Remember, if it is positive, well, it's good. If it's negative, it's bad. What's the value, please?
75, 528.
75, 528.
Gentlemen, which of the businesses is better?
Project B.
Because project B is giving us more profits. True or false?
True.
Okay. Any question? So go to your computer, your Excel. There's a file called LCC. Don't know that I have it. Maybe I should have uploaded it before I go. Let me upload it. Let's just do one. In the next 10 minutes, we'll close the class. I will send you a video you watch and you master it very well. I can't just keep you here. Boys, I think most of us already have it anyway. Okay, go to your charts and download it. Life cycle costing. So that question one that we did, go back to it. A new lighting system will last 6 years and save us 5,000 per year. The company purchasing it requires a hurdle rate of 50% system. In other words, how much are you paying? So what you do, you come to Excel. Here, the interest rate is 15%. You write 15% here. Number of years is 6. That 5,000 is what we call annuity of cost. But in Excel sees it as what we call PMT. payments, score payments is 5,000. So now we are looking for the present value. So the future value, we are not giving the type, we will explain. So you go to the present value, click your mouse inside that course. You go to formulas. When you go to formulas, you go to financials. Hey, open your Excel. Or let me do this one. You go to financials. When you go to financials, you go to PV. You go to PV. Done in 5 minutes. In 10 minutes, you're done. Training. Now, you go to PV. This is PV. If you open PV, a dialog box will open. One thing about Excel is that Excel is interactive. So this is the rate. I'll make sure my cursor is inside the rates. I will now go and click 15%, which is cell C7. I'll go back again. I'll go and click into in any years. Once my cursor is inside there, I'll go and click the number of years. I'll go to PMT. PMT represents A in Excel. That's the only changes. They didn't write it as A. What I'm now telling you is PMT, payment. Remember, it is a series of equal payments coming in or going out annually. Equal series of payments. So Excel called it PMT, but this is known to them. So under PMT, I'll go and click 5. Under future value, it doesn't come to the market, I'll leave it blank. Under type, if you click your mouse inside type, it will speak some grammar. If you go down here, you see what it means. It's either you put 1 or you put 0. But the semantics in Excel is that either you put 0 in a cell or you leave the cell blank. A null cell is as good as a 0 cell. 1, if the payments at the beginning of the year. 0, if it is what we call end of year payments. So in this case, we are doing end of year payments. If I give you money in the January, you only return it back to me by December. So since I'm not doing anything, I'll just come here and say, okay, Excel will give me the money. It is a bracket because it is a negative word. Excel will put anything that is negative in brackets. And why is it in brackets? Because it's a money that's going to leave my pocket. It's a outward, it's a disbursement. So it's a negative cash flow. Because this is the amount of money I'm going to invest in order to make that so-called money. Any question? I quickly look at the question number 2. Let's see how we can solve it with Excel. Question number 2, we are given PV. And because it's a money going out, I put negative on it. So that my answer will not come in bracket again. The difference is that if you didn't put negative on it, the number will just come in bracket. That's just the difference. The interest rate is 12%. Number of years is 5. We're looking for the PV. So when I make sure my cursor is here, I'll go to formulas menu. I'll go to financials, and I'll look for PMT. I'm looking for the annuity. And I told us the annuity in Excel is represented as PMT. If you click on it, it will also tell you the same thing that you have gotten. The rate is 12%. The number of years is 5. The present value is the money I'm spending today. The money I'm going to pay is this. So this time around, it is not in negative, it's not in brackets. If I come out down negative, if I forgot to indicate that this is a outward cash flow, the thing will just come into brackets. because one must be a cash outflow, one must be inflow. But the right thing is that this is the one I'm investing, and this is the one that's coming to me. Please, can we use 2 minutes and try these two? Now, I'm here. If you finish, you say done. Just delete this thing. Delete it. Then go to this first sheet. Delete it. We already know the answer. Time starts now. Try it. Everybody try it. We're closing the class. Remember, the class is ending today. So after which, I'll give you a video to play for next week. I will not be here, but I'll give you one free video that I will encourage you and said, even though we're not meeting here next week, at that time of training, find time and just watch that 3 hours video. It will add huge value to you. Okay. Nobody has done it. So a company will ask you to look at these two alternatives. So here, you can see that here, I can also try to get the PMT of this present value. Or I can also try to get the present value. This is the one we did. This is the one we did now. But there are 2 ways to do it. You can use the present worth method. So using the present worth method, what is the PV of this 33,000? So I'll go to formula, financials. I'll go to PV. Someone will argue, but we already have a PV here. No, I will ignore this PV. I want to get the P, okay, the P2. So the rate is 12%. Number of years is 8. The PMT is 33. Did you see it? So I will now say this minus this to get me this. I'll come and do the same thing here. What is the PV? Given the savings. And then I'll spread 2. So this is using the present worth method. But I can also use the annuity method. In the case of, let me not confuse you, but in the case of an annuity method, what I will do is I will leave this PMT. I will say this
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I think Nijinoji had some technical glitches there from the network, and um, while we wait to have him back, I think he's almost rounding up on today's training. And like he said, today is going to be the last day for the training. So I hope we're going to have him back shortly. And if there are still questions from the previous trainings, we'll have them. So while we wait for him, I don't know if there are questions from the previous trainings so that we can quickly address them while we're waiting to have him back.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, actually, my question is not, well, it is related to the training, but it's more about the examination. Like,
Okay.
if for those of us who are interested in actually writing the exam, whether it's CEM or CEA, so what's the next step from here now after this training? What's the next step or steps?
So if you're interested in writing the exam, there is an institute that is designated to organize these exams in Africa. It's called Institute of Energy Professionals. It's in South Africa, but they have a partner in Nigeria to organize these exams. You can either write in person or you can write online. So after this training, if you're interested in writing that exam, maybe I will find a way to share the link, their web link, or just like I have also mentioned the name, Institute of Energy Professional, IEPA, Institute of Energy Professional Africa. You might also put it on Google, you'll see it. They have a timetable. Every year they put out a timetable when this exam will be conducted across different countries. Okay, so if you are interested, I would suggest you check them out on their website and then you register. The cost is, I think, I think it should be close to $2,000 now, but I know it's more than maybe about 1,500 or thereabout per exam. So before you write the exam, you're going to undergo another training for about 3 days, depending, or 5 days, depending if you're writing CEA or CEM. And after that training, that is going to be the final preparation for the exam. After that training, you have a window of about, I think, 2 weeks or so to write the exam. And then after the exam, there will be processes of marking. It's going to take a while for them to get back to you, not too long, but maybe about, it's going to take weeks anyway for them to get back, because these exams are marked in the US. They have to package it and send to the US for marking before they can get back to you on your scores. And then after the exam, if you meet a minimum score of 70%, then you're qualified, then you pass, you get your certification. If you fall short of 70% in your exam, you have an option to. Okay, I think I should just stop the recording.
No, go on, I'm done. Go on.
Okay.
Go on.
Okay, so yeah, welcome back, Engineer Oshie. So I don't know, somehow it's like you had some network glitches.
Yeah, the network went off. I had to restart.
Okay, that's fine. So I'm just trying to update them on if they want to proceed to write the exam, either CE or CEM. I'm just trying to inform them on the procedures. Okay, so like I said, if you fall short of 70% after